Hello students, my name is Niyati Seth and thanks for watching Edpedia Wood videos. My topic for the presentation is the 9th section of the chapter Chemical Control and Coordination. In this section of presentation, we'll be studying about the adrenal gland. Students, adrenal gland is also known as suprarenal gland. Why is it called as suprarenal gland? Students, renal means kidney and supra means that it is located superior to the kidney. As you can see, I have jotted down a point that it is located superior to the kidney. That's why its name is also a suprarenal gland. So don't get confused when I say adrenal gland or suprarenal gland, then they both are same. Okay. The suprarenal or adrenal gland are the pair of glands that are located superior to the kidney. As you can see, these are adrenal gland, okay, which are situated superior to the kidney. This is the right adrenal gland and this is the left adrenal gland, and this is kidney, which is bean shaped. Okay, the suprarenal or the adrenal glands are a pair of glands that secrete hormones directly into the bloodstream. Each gland can be divided into two distinct organs. And which are those? The outer one is known as cortex. See, this is your cortex. And the inner one is known as medulla. Okay. So the outer region, the adrenal cortex, secretes hormone which have important effects on the way in which energy is stored and food is used, on chemicals in the blood, and on characteristics such as hairiness and body shape. Okay. Now what about the inner region, that is medulla? It is a smaller inner region which we call it as medulla, which we term it as medulla. It is a part of sympathetic nervous system and is the body's first line of defense and response to physical and emotional stress. Okay. The adrenal glands are shaped like the French Emperor Napoleon hat, as you can see. Okay, that it somewhat resembles like Napoleon Bonaparte's hat. Okay, and just as Napoleon three-cornered hat sat on the head, so each gland is perched on each of the kidneys. Okay, as you can see that it has it is situated on both the kidneys. Okay, that's why its name is suprarenal gland. Okay. These glands are about 1 to 2 inches in length. As you can see, its length is around 1 to 2 inches, not more than that. Okay, they weigh only a fraction of an ounce each, yet are among the most productive of all the body's glands, secreting more than 3 dozen hormones. Students, just imagine that this 1 to 2 inch long adrenal gland, it produces around 3 dozen hormones. The adrenal cortex, which is this one, takes instructions from the pituitary gland and have important effects on physical characteristics, development and growth of an individual. Okay. The adrenal gland has two parts, and which are those? The cortex, or the outer yellow color, takes its instruction from pituitary hormone. And which pituitary hormone? ACTH, which I have taught you in detail in my previous sections of presentation. Please refer to that for the better understanding. Okay. So the hormones secreted here are called as steroids, and they have three main types. Those which control balance of sodium and potassium in the body. Second, those which raise the level of sugar in the blood. And third, sex hormone. Okay, so this was about cortex. Now what about medulla? Medulla is an inner reddish brown layer of the adrenal gland that makes two types of hormones. This part of the adrenal gland takes its instruction from nervous system, producing chemicals which react to fear and anger and are sometimes called as fight or flight hormones. Okay, so this is the overview which I gave you about adrenal gland. So adrenal glands, they are the small, they are yellowish organ that rest on the upper poles of the kidney, as you can see here. Okay, the right adrenal gland is pyramidal. See, it is pyramidal in shape, whereas the left one is more crescentic, extending towards the hilum of the kidney. See, this is the hilum. This is the hilum part of the kidney. So it extends towards the hilum, whereas this right adrenal gland is situated on the pole of the kidney. It is not extending towards the hilum of the kidney. Okay. Okay. At age 1 year, each adrenal gland weighs approximately 1 gram. And in height 1 to 2 inches, but in weight just 1 gram. Okay, and this increases with age to a final weight of 4 to 5 gram. Medulla is located in the center of the gland. Okay, and it makes adrenaline and noradrenaline hormones. Which two hormones it secretes? Adrenaline and noradrenaline is secreted by medulla part. Okay. And please, students, don't get confused with the epinephrine and norepinephrine. Adrenaline is known as epinephrine and noradrenaline means or it is also known as norepinephrine. So whenever I use epinephrine or norepinephrine terms, so don't get confused. Okay. These hormones, they control the fight or flight response. That is, they put your body on high alert. These hormones, they increase the heart rate, they increase your blood pressure, and they increase the amount of oxygen you breathe in, and temporarily improve your eyesight too. When we talk about adrenaline or epinephrine, they both are same. Okay, so adrenaline, they also causes liver to release extra glucose or sugar into the bloodstream to provide instant energy. That means for instant energy, when instant energy requirement is there in the body, then this adrenaline, which is a hormone which is also known as epinephrine, it causes liver to release extra glucose or sugar into the bloodstream. Okay, things that cause adrenal medulla to release adrenaline and noradrenaline include anxiety, pain, upright posture, exercise, and cold. So these are the factors that causes adrenal medulla to release adrenaline and noradrenaline. Okay, once released, these hormones, they are broken down into norepinephrine. That means hormone is which is norepinephrine or epinephrine, they just get broken down into norepinephrine and metapnephrine's, which are metabolites or waste products. Okay, which is not used by the body, it just passes out as a waste. Adrenal cortex hormone. So far we have studied adrenal medulla hormones, and which were those? Epinephrine and norepinephrine. Now we'll be studying about the adrenal cortex hormones. Okay, the adrenal cortex produces two main groups of corticosteroid hormones. Okay, and which are those? Glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids. The release of the glucocorticoids is triggered by hypothalamus and pituitary glands. That means hypothalamus and pituitary gland, they are the glands that regulates the release of glucocorticoid hormone of adrenal cortex. Okay. Now what about mineral corticoid, which is another hormone of adrenal cortex? Mineral corticoids are mediated by signals triggered by the kidney. Okay. When hypothalamus produces corticotropin releasing hormone, that is CRH, it stimulates the pituitary gland. That means hypothalamus is the one that releases this hormone, which is CRH, corticotropin releasing hormone. It goes to the pituitary gland and it stimulates the pituitary gland to release adrenal corticotropic hormone. Okay, that is ACTH. Am I clear now? Now these hormones in turn alert the adrenal gland to produce corticosteroid hormones. Now the glucocorticoids, which is the first category of adrenal cortex hormone, glucocorticoids they released by the adrenal cortex includes hydrocortisone and corticosterone. Hydrocortisone is commonly known as cortisol. It regulates how the body converts fat, protein and carbohydrate into energy. And this hydrocortisone, it also helps regulate blood pressure and various cardiovascular functions. And now the second category of glucocorticoids is corticosterone. This hormone, it works in conjugation with the hydrocortisone to regulate immune response and suppresses inflammatory reactions. Okay. Now, as I told you that your adrenal gland, it has zones. So zones, they produce and secrete distinct hormones. Okay, so the outer layer is known as Zona Glomerulosa, okay, which is the outer layer. It is the outermost layer. It is the main site for the production of mineral corticoids, which is the second category of hormone produced by adrenal cortex. And more specifically, in mineral corticoid, it produces aldosterone, which is largely responsible for the long-term regulation of blood pressure and balancing of the electrolytes. Okay. Now comes Zona Fasciculate layer, which is inner to the Zona Glomerulosa. It is situated between glomerulosa and reticularis. Reticularis is the inner layer. So this layer, you can say that it lies just between glomerulosa and reticularis. So your Zona Fasciculate is a layer which is situated between Zona Glomerulosa, which is an outer layer, and Zona Reticularis. It is responsible for producing glucocorticoids, and more specifically cortisol. Okay. This layer, Zona Fasciculata, it secretes a basal level of cortisol, but can also produce burst of hormone in response to ACTH. ACTH is adrenocorticotropic hormone, which I have already taught you in detail in my previous sections of the presentations. So please refer to that also for the better understanding. Okay. Now the third layer, which is the innermost layer, is known as Zona Reticularis. Zona Reticularis produces androgens, and more specifically DHEA and DHEA sulfate. Okay, but we won't be going into detail of it. Now hormones secreted by adrenal medulla are, as I have already taught you, but giving you here an overview: epinephrine and norepinephrine. Epinephrine is also known as adrenaline, and norepinephrine is also known as noradrenaline. Okay, So epinephrine, most people know epinephrine by its other name, and that is adrenaline. This hormone rapidly responds to stress by increasing your heart rate and rushing blood to the muscles and brain. That means it gives response to fight or flight. Okay? It also spikes your blood sugar level by helping convert glycogen, which is a reserve glucose stock, into glucose in the liver. See, I have written here that glycogen is the liver storage form of glucose. Okay. Now, the second is norepinephrine. It is also known as noradrenaline. This hormone works with epinephrine in responding to stress. However, it can cause vasoconstriction also. And what is that vasoconstriction? Vaso means vessels, blood vessels, and constriction means narrowing. So narrowing of blood vessels. It is caused by norepinephrine. Okay, and this results in high blood pressure. So let's see here adrenal cortex hormones and adrenal medulla hormones. Adrenal cortex, it secretes steroid hormones, whereas adrenal medulla, it secretes hormones which are controlled by ANS, autonomic nervous system. Okay, it secretes glucocorticoids, more specifically cortisol, and it also secretes mineral corticoids, which more specifically aldosterone, and gonadocorticoids such as estrogens and androgens. Whereas adrenal medulla, it secretes only two hormones, and that is epinephrine, which is also known as adrenaline, and norepinephrine, which is also known as noradrenaline. Okay. Now we'll see a region, its hormones and its effect. First, we'll study about cortex, as cortex has three layers: Zona Glomerulosa, Zona Fasciculate, and Zona Reticularis. Zona Glomerulosa secretes mineral corticoids, more specifically aldosterone hormone, which increases renal reabsorption of sodium ions and water. It also increases renal potassium ion loss. And Zona fasciculata, it secretes hormone glucocorticoid, more specifically cortisol. It releases amino acid from skeletal muscle and lipid from adipose. It promotes liver glycogen and glucose formation, which I have already taught you. And third layer is Zona Reticularis, which produces androgens. Okay. Now comes medulla part of adrenal. It produces two type of hormones: epinephrine, which is also known as adrenaline, and norepinephrine, which is known as noradrenaline. What does adrenaline do? It increases cardiac activity. It increases blood pressure. And what does norepinephrine do? It increases glycogen breakdown, and it also increases blood glucose. Okay. Now we'll move on to disorders which are associated with the adrenal gland. There are multiple reasons why adrenal gland might not work as they should. There are some disorders. So the problem could be with the adrenal gland itself, or the root cause may be due to defect in another gland. So the first is your Cushing syndrome. What happens in Cushing syndrome? It is an uncommon condition that is essentially the opposite of Addison's disease. We'll study about the Addison's disease. In Addison disease, disease is caused by the deficiency of mineral corticoids and glucocorticoids, and it is also caused by destruction of adrenal cortex in diseases such as tuberculosis. Okay, but let's focus on Cushing syndrome first. It is caused by excess of cortisol, which may be due to a tumor of the adrenal cortex. Okay, and there are variety of causes of disorder. A tumor in the adrenal gland or pituitary gland could be to blame. Okay, and this Cushing syndrome symptoms are, or it is characterized by high blood sugar, appearance of sugar in the urine, rise in plasma Na plus, or fall in plasma K plus, that is potassium ion, and it could also be characterized by obesity, okay, or wasting of muscles of thighs and pectoral and pelvic girdles. Okay, now move on to second, that is adrenal cancer. It is an aggressive cancer, students, but it is very rare. Okay, malignant adrenal tumors, they are rarely confined to the adrenal glands. They tend to spread to other organs and they cause adverse changes within the body because of the axis hormones they produce. Okay, so it is like confined to the adrenal gland only, this cancer. Now comes Addison's disease. When I taught you about the Cushing syndrome, then I told you that it is just opposite to the Addison's disease. In this disease is caused by the deficiency of mineral corticoids and glucocorticoids. But this is a very rare disorder which may affect anyone at any age. Okay. Now comes congenital adrenal hyperplasia. This is a genetic disorder which is characterized by low level of cortisol. It's common for people with congenital adrenal hyperplasia to have additional hormone problems such as low level of aldosterone, which maintains a balance of water and salt. Okay, so these were the disorders that were associated with the adrenal gland. Okay, so thank you and keep watching Edupedia Word videos.